real good. I knew that I would not.
AM 1220 KHTS, Prima Pediatrics Healthcare Hour. We're talking, we led off by talking bike-a-thon, but now we shifted gears into spring health concerns for your little ones, and well, let's get back into it. It's springtime, sun's out, birds are singing.
That's right.
And kids are going to be outside. Vitamin D intake is very important, right?
Right. And here's the thing, and this is like a double-edged sword. First of all, we are seeing a vitamin D deficiency epidemic now like we haven't seen since before vitamin D fortification in milk, which would have been in the 30s and 40s. So do you remember reading, I mean, everybody I'm sure has heard or read about The Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens.
Okay, yeah.
You know, where Tiny Tim,
Yeah.
you know, was dying. He was dying of vitamin D deficiency rickets.
Really?
That's what Tiny Tim had.
I had no idea.
That's why he walked with his
little
crutches,
crutch, yeah.
because his bones were all broken with pathologic fractures, and a lot of kids died from that. It was particularly prevalent in London in those days because there was very little sun in the
Foggy
city.
London town.
Foggy London town,
There you go.
and the kids were down in the coal mines or down, you know, and there was no vitamin D available. So those kids got rickets, which also leads us to just a side tale. You know, a lot of people say their grandmas always said, "Don't let the baby stand. You know, they'll end up being bow-legged." And the answer is, yeah, actually, they were right. Not anymore, but they were, because in the old days, before vitamin D supplementation, if these kids stood too early, they'd stand on their rickety bones and get pathologic fractures leading to bow-leggedness.
And there you have it.
So there you go. So they were actually right. They
Yeah.
didn't know why, but they were right. But, I mean, that hasn't happened in a long time. But what's happening now is there are two issues going on. Number one, kids are not getting outside enough.
Yeah, and that's what I was
big
going to
deal.
ask. Is the main reason because kids aren't going outside as much?
That's part of the reason. That's a good part of the reason.
Okay.
Second part of the reason is beyond the ages of 3 or 4, a lot of kids are not drinking milk.
Yeah.
They drink soda instead, which does two things. A, it doesn't give them any vitamin D. And B, the phosphoric acid in the soda actually eats the bones.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we got a perfect storm there. And then C, we're all very concerned about skin cancers because of the lack of ozone and so forth, the ozone layer. And so you're going to get a lot more, you know, skin cancer. So everybody's using a lot of sunblock. Now that's good because nobody wants to get skin cancer. But on the other hand, it's also blocking a portion of the UV light spectrum that's necessary to produce vitamin D.
Okay.
So, you know, let's see. You want skin cancer, you want vitamin D deficiency rickets. This is a tough choice.
Yeah.
So what do? The truth is the biggest epidemic is in latency age to teenage girls and boys. Girls a little bit more than boys, but boys as well. And what happens is a lot of the kids now are latchkey kids. A lot of the kids are not going outside after school.
Yeah.
They come home and they watch TV.
Yeah.
Inside without any light.
Yeah.
And so there's not enough sunlight, because up to a certain amount of sunlight during the day is good for you, even though you need to use some sunblock. The sunblock is most important between the hours of 10 a.m. and 3 to 4 p.m. After that, it's less important, but you still get nice UV radiation. So the idea is you need your kid to be outside after school, and even if they use some sunblock, they'll still get enough UV.
Is there an SPF, like, should they be using 15? Because I know there's, like, you know, anywhere from
SPF
5 to, like, 800
Right.
or whatever.
Beyond SPF 30, you're not going to get additional protection.
Okay. Oh, I didn't know
But
that.
you will have additional irritation.
Oh, okay.
So beyond SPF 30 is ridiculous unless you've got somebody who has albinism, you know, or
Okay.
has this particular, you know, problem. SPF 30 is fine.
Gotcha.
Depending upon the nature of your skin. Now, if you're a dark-skinned person, then SPF 15 is perfectly fine. Not that dark-skinned people can't get sunburns. They can.
Yeah.
But the darker they are, the less likely they are.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that's the other thing. If you're a darker skinned person, and you know, a lot of our Hispanic population have a darker skin, those kids are not getting enough exercise. They're not drinking any milk because, let's face it, 70% of the world's population are lactose deficient by the time they reach age 10 to 12. So they can't drink it.
Oh,
they
okay.
don't drink it because it hurts their stomach, so
Hurts
they
their
stop
stomach.
drinking it.
Okay.
So no milk, so no vitamin D intake. no sunlight because they're coming home after school and watching TV or doing their homework, or not being allowed outside because their parents can't be home to supervise them, so they want them to be inside the house, understood for child safety reasons. And so it's another issue. So we're seeing vitamin D deficiency like nobody's business. It's a huge issue. So the first thing, what can you do? Easy. If your kid can tolerate milk, make them take 16 ounces of milk a day.
Okay.
That will be enough vitamin D for most kids.
Okay.
If they can't tolerate milk, or they will never take more than 4 to 6 ounces in a day, then make it up with the vitamin D fortified orange juice.
Okay.
And when you take vitamin D, you got to take calcium with it, because if you take it alone, it ain't going to work. It needs the calcium to work. That's number 2. Number 3, get your kid outside in sunlight for an hour a day.
And so we're going to kick our kids outside, which is wonderful.
Absolutely.
And what are some of the concerns, though? Because I know we don't have poison ivy here in Santa Clarita, but we do have other
not
things,
even in
right?
Southern California for the most part.
Oh, okay.
We have poison oak
Okay.
and poison sumac.
Which poison sumac is
It's another kind of tree.
Yeah, okay.
Another thing that produces this wonderful substance that I love the name of, which is urushiol.
That sounds like a superhero of sorts.
I know,
Yeah.
urushiol!
Yeah.
To the rescue! Anyway, urushiol causes the skin to blister and itch and drives you crazy.
Okay.
So the first thing you do is, if you encounter any of those plants and you've gotten the sap on your skin, you got to wash it off right away. The sooner you wash it off, the less effect it'll have.
Well, with your kids, too, you got to be careful because, if they get it on their hands or rub their face, that's bad news bears, right?
Right. The first thing is wash. Get it off. Get it off,
Yeah.
folks. Second, give some Benadryl. Third, use some hydrocortisone over-the-counter cream.
Okay.
Most of the time, that'll get you away from it.
Sometimes you got to get, the super steroid cream, though? Every once in a while?
The only time you get the super steroid cream is when you've gotten it bad enough to go to the doctor. Then they can prescribe it for you.
Gotcha.
But the over-the-counter creams will do the trick. Between that and some Benadryl and washing it off real good, that'll take care of the bulk of the cases.
Is there a concern, though, because I remember one time there were, a buddy of mine, he went hiking in his pants, and then his mom went to clean his clothes, and she got it on her hands, and then she ended up getting it. So that's a concern, too. Make sure you...
Right. I mean, if you think you've got it, and you've got the whole thing, you got to, wash the clothes and wash the skin.
Okay.
You got to get rid of the urushiol.
Okay.
That's the thing. You got to get rid of the substance, because if you keep getting in contact with it, it's going to keep doing
Bad news
its
bears.
thing.
Okay. All right. We're going to take a break, our final break, and I want to talk about there's one thing. Pink eye is a thing, of course.
Yes.
But washing hands and stuff like that. That's kids are getting dirty and stuff. But I want to ask if dirt is bad. And we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that.
It's not bad.
Coming up next on the Prima Pediatrics Healthcare Hour on AM 1220 KHTS.